All right, let's go, caller. You are now live with the Hope Dealers.
Jack and John are those kind of guys that when they're talking, you better start listening because they're about to change your life.
It's the Hope Dealers!
All right, happy Tuesday.
You know, Detroit's a rough city where we live, but it's different now. I can feel it. Whatever you heard on the news is wrong. We are human. We're connected.
In our region here, man, if you're like laying around not doing nothing, go do something. Make someone smile. You know, get it. Grind, man. You grinding? What are you doing?
Yeah, well, you nailed it.
God, I love those guys.
Oh, man, I've heard that intro 100 times and it still makes me laugh and smile. Welcome to the Hope Dealers Weekly Podcast. Thank you to all of our fans who are with us for the second, third, or fourth, or maybe even 10th time. And welcome to all of you that are new to the show. We've got an amazing show lined up for today. Yet again, another amazing story of hope from another amazing individual and human being on this planet, which we believe the human spirit is alive and well, and we just continue to meet amazing people day after day after day. So we're honored to share this story today. We're going to get to that in just a moment. But the Jack feelings today, I think this may be like episode 10 of the Hope Dealers, and we've been having some fun. What's happening with you today? Where are you at?
Well, it's Tuesday in Detroit, so we have some sunshine. I think a high of 60.
Yeah, man.
Can't get any better than that.
It's been great, man. Hasn't it? Like we had like that little 2 or 3 day period where it got cold for a second, but like the last 3-4 weeks, it's been spring. And
Yeah.
50s, 60s, 70s, even a couple 80-degree days. Like it's been a blessing for sure.
For sure. Makes
Right.
you feel human with that sun out there.
Oh, birds are chirping, trees are blossoming. It's been great, and we're going to keep that energy going on today's show. So, guys, today we have the pleasure of really speaking to and sharing the story of an amazing man. We met this man about 7 years ago for the first time. I actually had heard of him in the past, but didn't meet him, and he actually joined us as business partners about 7 years ago. His name is Mr. James Dentley. Currently resides in the Chicago, Illinois area. And I've got a couple of bullet points on him that I want to share. He's just had, I asked him for this earlier today, and I knew that he had accomplished some great things, and I forgot about a few of them. So we've got Mr. James Dentley on today. He is the youngest general manager ever of the Church's Fried Chicken franchise. He also reached the highest position in ACN, which is a company that Jack used to be part of many years ago, a network marketing company. He reached that highest position while being homeless and didn't even have a network when he started there, which means he had no business partners, no business associates. He just went in as a homeless guy and just reached the top of that company. He's received countless awards for his work in philanthropy. He's become an international speaker. He's an author. He's a business sculptor. He's actually mentored 84 people that have earned 7 figures. He's received awards on leadership and speaking, and he's actually launching his own TV streaming service network in just 2 weeks. So good luck to him on that. We're so excited about that. At Total Life Changes, a company that we're a part of with him, he's actually achieved some top sales initiatives, records, metrics. He's won all kinds of awards. He's also the former co-founder of a network marketing company called One Voice Worldwide. He has an honorary doctorate degree in divinity. He's on the board of the City Gala. He's a First Legacy Award recipient, an Icon Award from the United for Humanity Foundation, and he also started a nonprofit, Already Always Amazing, which serves children, veterans, and seniors. Man, what has he not done?
Right.
This guy, Mr. James Dentley, welcome to the Hope Dealers. How are you today, sir?
Doing?
All right, we can't hear you just yet, but
You can hear me? Okay.
there we go. Welcome,
All right.
James.
I'm
to the
excited
Hope
to be here.
Dealers.
I'm always excited.
Awesome.
I'm always excited to be here with Jack and John.
Well, we appreciate you. We're excited as well. I think, we just got off of a string of 4 weeks in a row of interviewing women, for International Women's Month in March. And we weren't saying to ourselves, hey, we have to get to a male interview. We just said, hey, what's the next great interview we could do? And we said, hey, let's talk to James. He's got an amazing story. Really great guy. So we've been excited for this day. James, for those of you that are listening, is actually joining us virtually. He's not in the studio with us today, all right? He's in Chicago. We're in Detroit, but we're making it happen. So, James, did I miss anything when I introduced you? I know you're also a father, you're a husband, you're a bunch of other great things as well.
I'm a lot of things.
If you want to add anything on there, but I think the point of saying all those great accolades that you've achieved is it wasn't always like that, right? And I think we all need those reminders, like no matter where you're at, it's possible. You can do it, and there's a lot of different reasons why you can or can't, and I'm sure we'll come across some of those today. But did I miss anything?
Well, I just want to just clear one thing up. I was a founder of a company called One Voice Worldwide in 2005 to 2009. And then I resigned because I didn't want to work 80 hours a week. I don't have the stamina that Jack Fallon has.
That's a special stamina for sure. And I don't think anybody, I think most people would understand fully what you mean other than me and Jack, because it's definitely a big, huge physical, mental, and spiritual commitment to run a company like ours and like the one that you founded many years ago. So we get it. Anything else before we get started, James, that we missed on your intro?
You know what? We'll pick it up in the introduction. You know, I would say you live life forward, you understand it backwards. And I am a storyteller, and I'm a believer that everyone has a story, and everyone's story matters, and it matters that it can impact the lives of other people. So I'm just ready to dive right into it.
Awesome. Well, Jack, you want to start with the first question?
I mean, there's so many questions, but obviously it's the same theme here. John mentioned that we interviewed some other people in our circle, in our extended circle, and we just find out all these new things, like the Kentucky Fried Chicken story. I never heard of that, James.
Church's Chicken.
Church's Chicken.
Still,
but you know what I mean. I've never heard that story from you, and we spent a lot of time together.
So
how did that happen?
Well, I mean, do we start there, or do we start when you were a kid, right? Because I think there's probably a great story. Yeah, let's start in chronological order, because my mind will get scattered real quick, for sure. Yeah. I think. But real quick before we start, I think, for people, if you're listening to this, or if you're watching this on YouTube, just look at the pattern here. Jack just alluded to it. There's a certain pattern here. We've announced, hey, we have this person on today. They've achieved this. They've accomplished this. They've done this. They've written books. They've done all these great things, but they come from humble beginnings, just like me and you. They're normal, everyday people. I asked James before we went on, said, did you come from a family of influence? Did you get a free pass? Were you able to cut in line? Like, did you know someone that helped you? And the answer to all those questions was no. So, James, let's start out with your birth and your childhood and everything else.
Well, I don't remember the birth, but I did see some pictures the other day that were mind blowing, and I didn't like the top hat. My mom and dad divorced when I was 5 years old. I remember coming out of kindergarten, and a friend of the family called me to their car. I got in the car, and we went to another address. And I'm James Dentley III, and my father would take me bowling with him, and we would hang out. And I really, really miss my dad. But my mom worked really hard for myself and my three sisters. She worked in a grocery store in the daytime, a dentist's office at night. And I was the one who always found ways to earn money. You know, I would freeze the Kool-Aid and flip it over in the cup and sell little Kool-Aid icy cups. And I would shovel snow, and I would rake the grass or carry groceries, whatever needed to happen. And I remember one of the defining moments for me, honestly, Jack and John, is that I had a friend named Skip, and we were in the alley about 6 years old, and he was playing with his father's gun, and he pointed the gun right in my face, and I put my hand up. I said, "Skip, stop, don't play." As soon as he put the gun down, it went off. Whoa. And I never forgot that day. I never forgot that sound. And as I look back, I knew that there was a reason why I was here. Even though I've had other challenges throughout my life, I always knew there was a reason, because I've had a lot of challenges, but I kept getting rescued and saved from that and preserved for something to come later. So that's pretty much how it started. Church's Chicken, I just went and got a job at 17. And at 18 years of age, I was the manager. I memorized every manual they had, and I worked my butt off from 6 in the morning to 3 o'clock in the morning. They had to be at school at 8:30. So out of guilt, they made me the general manager, I guess. But I was one of the top in the nation, with that. So I ran those restaurants. That became a district manager. I had 6 restaurants, and a regional manager. I had about 17. And then I relocated to Dallas, Texas, and got with a company called Steak and Ale, and steak, lobster, and prime rib. And that was so cool. 150 employees. I had all this great. I had a T-shirt that said "Marry me and eat for free." I had steak, lobster, and champagne for any date. Candles on the table. It was pretty cool. And then they moved me from Dallas to Houston, to Midland, Odessa. No, to Houston, humble Houston. And then from there, Midland, Odessa, Texas, and then Abilene. And that was a culture shock. But I learned a lot about myself and a lot about people. And I realized that most people, everybody wants the same things. They just want to be happy. They want to know that they count, that they're heard. They want their children to be safe. They want to grow up in community. And I found that, the way they would go about it is different, but I found that all over the world, that's the power of the human connection. We want to connect. We want to belong to something that we can believe in and live a life without fear. And it's sometimes tough to do. So that's just a thumbnail of it. I ran restaurants for a long time until someone tricked me into network marketing. And here I am today.
Wow. It's a similar story to me. Someone tricked me into that as well. That may or may not come out later in this broadcast. But real quick, before we move too forward, I really love, again, we're going to say this again. We've known you for a long time. Jack said, man, I never knew the Church's Chicken story. I didn't know about that. I didn't know about Skip. The 6-year-old, the gun going off. I can see where that would make someone think like, wow, I could have just died. Maybe I'm here for a reason. So I thought that was an awesome moment in your story. But I want to fast forward a little bit to when you started talking about Church's Chicken. I think this is important, right? I think sometimes people are looking for hope, right? And people are like, how come it's not happening for me? And how come I can't be more successful? And, you just hear story after story after story of people just working their butt off and figuring it out and making it happen. You said you memorized every manual Church's Chicken had, right?
Yeah.
Walk us through that real quick. Like, what does that mean? Like, you were just an entry level associate, and you're like, hey, let me read up about. I want to learn everything about Church's Chicken. Like, what did you do? Like, what in your mind said, I have to learn more. I have to be more valuable than just an associate.
Well, first of all, I was 17 years old, and I'm working this job, and 3 days a week during school days. I would go there at 6 in the evening, and we close at 2, and I get home about 3:30, 3:45, and back on the bus at 8 o'clock in the morning to go back to school. And it was pretty tough. I slept my way through high school, but I was pretty well dressed, so I would let my teachers model my clothes. But I remember the thing at Church's Chicken, this first thing I remember is that we would get robbed almost every week. I've been robbed 22 times. 22 guns have been in my face.
Oh my God.
And sometimes it was the same people that kept coming back. So if they were running late, I tell them, wait 5 more minutes and they'll be here. We don't want to upset them. But I learned a lot. And I was just really curious. And people who know me when I speak, I have all these poems and sayings. Well, when I was 8 years old, I memorized all the books in the Bible. I memorized the 51st Psalms when I was about 9. And then I memorized the operating procedure manual, policy and procedures manual, and repair and maintenance manual. To this day, I know how many calories, carbohydrates, calcium is in 2 pieces of chicken, a pepper fry, and a Coke. To this day, I cannot get it out of my head. And I was so good at everything. We had people that were the best, but we challenged each other, and we made it so much fun to become better than the other person, I can catch up with my mind and with my service because as I look back, I was a good kid, but I showed up every single day and worked my butt off. And I could do the work of 3 people so they could send everybody home at night and I could clean that whole thing up faster by myself than I would with 2 other people there. And that's pretty much, and then I was good with numbers and the P&Ls and things of that nature. By that time, everything had to be done by hand with a calculator. We didn't have the computer. So just imagine in those days, we had to count French fry bags and cups every single night. But if 2 pieces of chicken were gone, I knew who ate it. You're giving me so good.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a good flashback.
Yeah.
It's a good flashback to an era that we grew up in as well. Obviously, we're a little bit younger than you, but like even the hours that you worked, right? 6 until 2 in the morning, right? Like, now there's work permits and stuff, and kids aren't allowed to work past a certain amount of hours or a certain amount of time at night. Like, that's definitely I understand that new regulation. But I too come from an era where, I think my work permit when I started working, legally was 14 years old. It said 18 hours. I think I just did that just on the weekends. I think I violated that thing come Monday where I was already over, right? And so, but how great is it that you're able to go through all that experience, right? And really at 17 years old, be given this opportunity that you seized and really set you up for a life of success.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to feel like you're rich when you live with your mother and you have no bills.
Oh yeah.
That's right. That's right.
I had a friend of mine the other day. We were with our kids, and he said, my kid acts like he's 25 and makes six figures, but he never works.
Well, yeah, things are much different now, right? Things are much different now. But so your mom obviously was a great person in your life, and I'm sure we're going to get to that soon because obviously she's not with us anymore, which I'm sorry to report. But let's move on with your story, James. So church is chicken, steak and ale, right? You're in Texas. You're kind of learning a lot about culture and a lot of different things, which you said was an awakening for you. Then where do you find yourself? You got tricked into network marketing. What in the heck happened there?
Well, before that happened, I'm running a restaurant doing about $2 or $3 million a year. So I said, well, if I can do it for someone else, I can do it for myself. So I started several businesses. I owned nightclubs and restaurants and real estate and contracting. I had a beauty salon. I used to have hair. And and I worked 17 hours a day. And I was miserable because I had no life. But I kept trying because I knew how to manage, but no one taught me how to own. And that's when I look at the world today, we still face a lot of that no one has taught us. Our paradigms are set into the habits or the rituals that we what you live, you learn, what you learn, you practice, and what you practice, you become. And so when I just got fed up with that, I was just so burnt out. I was trying to chase the American dream, couldn't catch it. If I caught it, I couldn't keep it. And if I got it and kept it, I didn't want it. I wasn't happy. So when I moved to Atlanta, someone told me about network marketing, and I said no. And they asked me again, and I said no. And they asked me again, I said, okay, I'll show up, but I meant no. And the fourth time they said, let's go to TGI Fridays and watch the baseball game. The Atlanta Braves were playing the Cubs. I said, sure. And isn't that interesting that I would be open to go see a baseball game, but not open-minded to see something that could change my life, and ultimately did. So he kidnaps me, he takes me to a meeting. I'm in my early 30s, he's in his late 20s. And the presenter was 21. And I prejudged him because he was so young and I had so much experience at an early age. And but at the end of his presentation, I was compelled to try it just in case it worked. And I didn't really take it that seriously when I started, and I failed and wanted to quit after the first week. And they put me in a training in the front seat. I don't know if Jack remembers a guy named Michael Caine.
It's familiar.
Yeah, Mike came from the East Coast. He came down and did a training, and it changed my life. And I went right home, and I learned, even to this day, when I learn things, I take what I learned, and not just the information, but the energy that I received it, the state I was in. I don't sit on it because it can dissipate. I went right away, signed up 16 customers, and never looked back. And then my life fell apart. And none of my friends ever joined me in the business. I had to build it with perfect strangers, didn't know people in Atlanta. But then everything in my life fell apart. I went from the top guy in the office to homeless to nothing. And it was really tough. But at that point, everybody started passing me up and everybody started really succeeding. And I couldn't quit because I knew it. But I had a mentor, and I know that Jack knows Mike. And I still talk to Mike Coopers. I love that man. And Mike Coopers told me that most people quit before it's time to win. He told me, he said, James, you've been successful, but you know what you know. Now it's time to know what I know. You want to be smarter, you can be rich. And he didn't say it in a condescending way. He just said it. And I never forget those words that he said to me. That he told me a story how he and his twin brother, Tony, were homeless at 24 and millionaires at 28. So when I'm sleeping in my car, now here's the other side. The car is an 89 Buick Century. It's dented from front to back on one side. I locked the keys in the door. I had to punch the lock out, put my finger in the hole, and then open up the door. I had no ignition, so I had to put a towel over the steering wheel because I would get a wire plier from under the seat, pull the tire back, start it up. The windshield was cracked from top to bottom, and I was coming to your friend's house and say, follow me, we're going to get rich. That's the story. And when I was in that car, sometimes in a parking lot, and every day I had to find a place to sleep. I took a job helping this gentleman named Michael Greer with his real estate training company for $250 a week, and I could use his phones when I got off work at 5. 3 weeks later, he came to me and said, James, I'm out of money. I can't pay you. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll work for you for free if after 5 o'clock I can stay here and use your phones to build my business. And he didn't really realize that some nights when he left, I had to sleep on that floor and wash my shirt out in the sink and get up the next day and put on the face and go do it. And I remember shoes being run over. I remember I would take his shoes to the mall to get them shined, and he would get mine shined at the same time. He would feed me. And I was very humble, and I understood in that humility, I found that power because I never had to go back and be our arrogance or ego after that. I was just in that place because I just got into myself and I focused and I did the work when most people would have quit and bailed. I just kept going.
Wow. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Like a lot of great stuff there. You know, it's you know, what I thought as you were speaking, what came to my mind was two things really. Those people that you meet that really speak to you, you know, and maybe, you know, sometimes it's your mom and your dad are telling you the exact same thing, but someone like a Mike Kupas shows up and for whatever reason you receive it different, right? You hear it, like you just you actually stop and listen instead of just hearing it, right? And I always like really am grateful for the people that have come into my life and kind of, you know, inspired me to listen and try something different and be more open-minded. But what really struck me, because our story is very similar, and I think so many successful people, you had to find strangers. You had to find strangers to build your business. You had to find strangers that believed in you. Man, like preaching to the choir. Like, you know, we have friends and family now that are like, hey, you know, this TLC thing, or, you know, hey, you know, I heard that vitamin's pretty cool that you guys are selling or whatever, right? But like, man, like 20 years ago, they wanted nothing to do with us. You know, we had to go find perfect strangers, you know. How ironic is it that you have to kind of like leave your friends and family network to ultimately find success, and then they come back to you later, you know?
Yeah. We don't know what we don't know. You know, we're very tribal and we hang around people that are like us. And when you find something else, it's something that attracts you to another place. And not that one's better than the other, they're just totally different. My wife is a double scientist. She talks about Tobler's law. And Tobler's law says that things that are alike are more attracted to be people who are alike, or things that are alike are usually going to be grouped with other like things. And so that's what it really was about. So when they opened up my mind to personal development, because I was told that if I wanted to change my life, it would be the books I read and the people I spent time around. So I've learned that you don't necessarily have to get rid of all your friends and family. You don't have to do that. If you create big goals, your goals and dreams will create separation by itself, because you're invested in doing this, following that dream, and they're still over here doing their dream. And you still love them. You don't have to have any emotion negative about it. You just got to follow your dream, which is your God-given right to follow one. Unfortunately, so many people don't really have one, or they feel like there's such a lack of belief. They don't understand. Today, we have a new billionaire every 24 to 36 hours in this nation. So the world is changing, and there's enough for everybody. And it's important that everyone just makes the effort to just open up their minds and give it a try. And I would say, I know we're going to get to TLC, but there's no other company like this company. And I've been at the top of 3 companies, and I've owned one. And then the other one, I was a 6-figure earner there in that company. And I've never taken a person from another company to a new company. Never done it. Even in this company, I didn't do it. I started with brand new people, every company, because I built from the very beginning with nothing, with no one I knew. So I always like to say it's possible that you can do it, but you can't put your success on someone else. The 84 people that became millionaires, all I did was teach them what I was taught. I didn't make up any of that stuff. They just did the work. That's the key. And if you do the work, somebody will join you.
Wow, man. Good stuff there. Really good stuff.
Yeah.
I love when you said, because, you know, we talk about divorcing your friends and family sometimes to be successful, and that's a little harsh. And I like how you softened it up, and I love how you said, you know, if you create big enough goals, that will create separation on its own. And I think that's so accurate. I mean, that resonated so hard with me. So thanks for sharing that. Jack, got anything for Mr. James Dentley, man? I'm loving this, by the way.
So when you speak to Mike, does because I actually wrote a book, and Mike is in my book. I wonder if him and Tony know how many people they have mentored without even really knowing, if that makes sense.
It's interesting. You said, Mike just got over COVID. He was really, really bad shape, and he's still recovering, but he's good. And when I heard his voice over the phone, I hadn't spoken to him in a decade, and when I didn't even realize who he was, when somebody put him on the phone with me, and then a tear came on my eye and sat there. I was walking in Dallas, Texas, back in 2003 with Robert Stefanowski, and I said, Robert, thank you so much. You changed so many lives. You changed our life. And Robert looked at me and he said, James, he said, no, James, we thank you. Because if it wasn't for people like you, we could never be here without. So find more people who are like you. And I thought about what he has said, just the humility of it. You know how Robert can be, he's a stark, stern business person. But when I thought about it, I realized that there's nothing special about me. It's just that you get to a point in life that you step into the fear, you step into the uncomfort zone, you step outside of. Like I said, I don't believe in thinking outside the box because there is no box. But when you just go do a thing and you look back, and logically, you probably wouldn't have never done it. But every person, I know you guys can attest to this, every person who's ever been successful, they always say, if I would have known my life would be this, I would have worked 10 times harder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't know the outcome. We don't know the outcome. The work was hard, but on the other side of the pain is the victory. It's that muscle. It's the thing that's going to help you prepare you for the next thing. And give you the testimony to help other people so they can know when it gets tough, keep going. They're building you. That's what muscle's all about. It hurts sometimes. Go back in the gym.
Love that, man. Love that. Yes, and that's an analogy I'm sure many people can understand. And, James, I got to tell you, we're talking about mentoring and special people in our lives, and you said something just now that really resonated with me once again. We always talk about knowing more, and wish we would have known more, we would have worked harder and all that stuff. Man, I really give Jack most of the credit for this for my own life. Man, if I would have known the impact that personal development would have had on my life, I would have started when I was 6. I would have started when I was 16, not 20, not 23, not 24, not even 30 before I really truly bought into it and became a student of it. Let's talk about that real quick, because I think that's something that can help so many people, no matter where you're at, just going on a personal development path where you just become a better human being, a better version of yourself every day. Do you think about that sometimes, how just that alone impacted your life?
Yeah, because, everything in life happens 2 times. It's the thought, then the thing, the mental, the physical, the inner, and then the outer. I was let's say a D average student in high school. I didn't go to college. I have an honorary doctorate degree. I do have people around me that are on the payroll that spell when I can't get spell check to act right on my phone. But so you don't have to be the best of everybody. But I think most people suffer from what they call a poverty of imagination and a weakness of attention. See, we all are born with an infinite possibility in our imagination. Everything that's created came from imagination. It wasn't here. But everything needed to create it was always here. Even going to Mars. We couldn't go to Mars, but everything to go to Mars was always here. Nothing dropped out of the sky, just the information on how to use it. So now we live in an era where if you can start imagining it, and I think that is an equalizer for people who sometimes we feel like we're not good enough, and they have to think or thinks to prove or proves. So we don't think we're good enough, then we'll prove it. Or we take on the identity of a victim instead of the identity of a warrior, and we take it and put it on ourselves, and then we begin to spin, and go into that fear and the feeling of being unworthy. But I remember Les Brown used to say, if you treat a person as they are, they may remain the same, but if you treat them as they could be, they can become what they should be. So I think it's really about consistent encouragement and being in the right environment. And I'll just say one last thing. In network marketing, I've been in this industry 27 years. I don't even count when I was 18, I was in Amway for a little bit. I never even talk about that anymore. But I've never seen anybody in this industry like what you have at TLC. And you know why? Because when you read Jack's book, and I encourage everybody to get it, is that the friendships and relationships you have that are in that office today, people don't stay together that long. That is something special because no one could have done this by themselves. And that's a special thing, even more special than the money, than the success, and all of us. The core group of people who had to figure it out had to figure some stuff out and come together. And you got really, really great. I love Scott. I remember when his dad passed. When they come together like that, that's when the magic happens. So I think I'll say this. I have a mentor. His name is Jeff Hoffman. He's a co-founder of Priceline. He said, you want to get more information, and sometimes go get information that may not have anything to do with what you're doing. It's like people putting pieces of a puzzle in your hand. So you got all these pieces, but there's no box with a picture on it. So you don't know what these pieces mean. But if you get enough of them, you realize all the things that are blue and green kind of go over here, things red, and then you'll find out how all these things will serve you. So it's really about becoming a lifelong learner, and just always know there's always more, and get excited about it. Don't get frustrated, get fascinated about it.
Yes, sir, man. And those puzzle pieces you talked about, man, sometimes it don't look like it in the beginning, but man, you've got a masterpiece right there when it all comes together, man, doesn't it? I mean, it almost, when all those puzzle pieces start to fit together, you almost feel like, at least for me, I almost feel guilty sometimes. Like, wow, man, like this all makes sense now.
Yeah.
And like I feel like I've always worked hard my whole life, and I still work hard, and work ethic is something that I've always prided myself on. But man, like once you start to know what we know, learn what we know, meet the people that you're supposed to meet, all the puzzle pieces come together, it almost gets easier after a certain point, and you almost kind of start to feel guilty about it, right? I know I feel that once in a while. So thanks for sharing all those great nuggets. I mean, this is just awesome and amazing. But let's get back to where we were before we broke off into our little sidebar here. So you're on this journey, this network marketing journey. Someone tricked you into it. You were homeless. I mean, what did that look like to make it to the top of that company? Like, what did your day look like?
Wow. Oh man, that's exciting. Well, when you have nothing else to do and you don't have the distractions, that's the good thing about being in Atlanta and not knowing people and being pretty much homeless. When I started making a little bit of money, well, first of all, we used a lot of payphones. In those days, we did. Remember the payphone? If you're under a certain age, don't worry about it. But we used a lot of payphones, but I would do meetings because I was good at doing presentations. That's one thing I learned how to do really quickly. So people would have to come get me. And I sometimes, John, I stayed in hotels, man, where the beds were like dipped in the middle of it. There was more gum on the carpet than carpet. And I can promise you, sometimes that gum was moving. But people would come pick me up, and I couldn't let them know where I lived at because I was the leader. So I would have to walk a couple of blocks and get an excuse for them to drop me back. But I would go and do meetings for them, and I would sit with them, and we would make 30, 40, 50 phone calls because then I'm not homeless. Then I'm in a real, apartment or home, and then I would eat. Okay, and I had to worry about that. And then they would drop me back off 2 weeks, 2 blocks away, and I would come back and start my day over. So I worked all the time, relentless pursuit of the dream, because I had nothing else to do. And I will tell you this, I detached, and I didn't talk to my family for almost a year. I would write them letters, let them know I was okay with my poor penmanship, but I had to detach because they didn't see what I had seen. They loved me, but they would have talked me into be realistic, get a job. They would have put that seed of doubt. And I realized that I had to finally grow up and take responsibility for my life. And when I did that, and that's one thing I can share with everyone, when you're willing to take responsibility for your stuff, for your crap, then it'll get better. And then you can own it. Just like you own the bad stuff, then you'll be able to own the good. Yeah, so I think that was really, really key for me. So I would do all these presentations for people, and it was interesting. Sometimes I would go motivate people on their job till midnight, and then I would sleep on the couch and get out of there at 7 before their boss got in and take a shower in their restroom. So every day was a journey for me. My upline hated me. They wanted me out of the company, and I never knew why. I found out later because they said I was too good, but I didn't even know I was good. I was suffering. So I had to build it without an upline. I had to build it without any support. But what I did have was that Mike Cooper's picked 16 people, and he trained them for about 2 months every Monday. And they selected me to be one of them. And only because I was always there, I was always helpful, and I always showed up. So 80% of success is showing up, and then 85% of what's left is psychology when you get there.
Awesome, man. So lots of great stuff there. I mean, I'm absolutely loving this, James. So thank you once again for being here with us today. And I guess, I guess next thing that would probably be fitting to talk about is, okay, you've gone on this network marketing journey that you've gotten tricked into. You go on this personal development journey that you got exposed to, because that's what network marketing, to me, that's the number one attribute of it. It just exposes you to this this personal development world that people don't even know exists, right? And so, you're working your butt off. Your family's kind of, you've decided, hey, I got to disconnect from them because they'll just distract me, which you're right. They will. I mean, that happened to me, right? It's kind of like, that constant, like, hey, what are you doing? Just, get a job, work more hours, you don't need to, mess with that stupid stuff, right? So, how do you find about TLC? Because that's where we met you, right? It's 2013, I believe, when you decide to lock arms with us. Like, walk us through how did that process even happen?
Well, I have to say it like this. First of all, when I was in the first company I was in, I became a really good speaker and a really good trainer, and we would have 20,000 people there. And they always made sure I was on that stage teaching and training, and I always made sure I stayed in the top 10, top 15 to do that. And then, so when I left the company in 10 and a half years, I only left because the company was going through some hiccups, and I was afraid that things would not change. And I realized I had no control, and I thought I had a calling to speak. And it was a scary thing, but I was afraid that if I did not leave, that I wouldn't discover my dream. And people would cut me off for that. They didn't understand why I did it. And one gentleman said, he said, I think you're making a big mistake, big brother. I said, why do you say that? He said, because they're about to go public and get stock. I said, yeah, they gave me stock options, but they're not going to go public. So he said, I still think you're making a mistake. I said, how long have you been here? He said, 7 years. I said, so you've been here for 7 years trying to get to a position that I've had for 10. You think my perspective was different. And I love the company. It was nothing negative about it. It's just that I wanted more. And I understood that there had to be more. So I started a speaking, training, and coaching company. And I began to train speakers and then train business owners. And then I got diagnosed with sarcoidosis of the lungs. And they put me on prednisone for 4 months, and 4 months turned into 8 years. And I went from 213 pounds, martial artist for 14 years, to 374 pounds with sleep apnea and gout and a mess. And my wife had died, my father had died, my stepfather had died, my mother had to have a knee surgery, and a hip surgery. And I had to move in her house. So all these things are happening at one time. And then I got a phone call about TLC, and I said, not interested, I'm really busy. But then they said, look, I want you to just try the tea. And out of respect, I tried it. And I honestly lost, when I lost 9 pounds in 5 days, guys, I could lose 1 pound in 8 years on prednisone. And it gave me hope. And I understood that in business, we don't have to sell things, we solve things. And if you can solve a problem and fill a need, I knew there had to be other people out there like me, people in my family, whether they had high blood pressure or they're diabetic. I knew it. I didn't understand it, what was happening, but I knew something had worked. And all the years I've been around with all as smart as people would think I might be, nothing else worked. And I tried it and it worked for me. And I was blessed to say yes. But every company I say no to at first is always the big win for me. So I don't know I don't know what's best for me. I just listen to other people. I just do what my wife tells me now.
That's good. That's good advice too, by the way. How scary is that, Jack? So like you're speaking, James, just now, and you're telling this story how you want nothing to do with this, but someone said, hey, please just try the tea, and out of respect, because you're a respectful person, you went ahead and did that. Man, I'm listening to you and I'm like, man, if that thing wouldn't have worked, I can't even imagine TLC and Jack and John without James Dentley. I can't. And so wow. I feel such gratitude that you were able to accept that product and have a good result with it. But man, what if you wouldn't have? That's scary as heck to me. I don't know about you, but I actually skipped half a heartbeat at that moment, right? Which leads me to even my own passion. That's why when I talk about our company, our products, our community here, I try to be as passionate as I can about it, because I just want what's best for people, and I know that we can take care of them. But I don't know, Jack. What are your thoughts at this point in our broadcast? So,
what I like to look back, and obviously, someone like yourself with a successful career, the ups and downs. Was there any other people that were just, what we found out through our career is that there all of a sudden little angels appear, right? Like somebody brought us the tea and they disappeared. Somebody did this and somebody helped us with the comp plan and then they disappeared. And it was just like, somebody helped us with the core values. He didn't disappear, but he kind of disappeared. You know what I mean? The angels throughout your career. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, absolutely. But I also realized that when you're writing the story of your life, and that story is written, everyone doesn't go to the next chapter, but they were they were in the chapter that we're in for your life. That's it. And everyone is a good example or a terrible reminder. So it all counts. It all matters. So the good stuff, you take it and you're appreciative of it, but they have to make their own decision. And they were there to plant that seed for you. And I would say this is what's so profound to me. When I got in my first company, there was a guy who got in, who got another guy named Roderick, who got Darren, who got Dora, who got Ken, who got me. Now, this man does not even talk to me. We haven't spoken since 1994. He was the number one money earner in that company. And we have not spoken. He doesn't even like me to this day. And I don't know why somebody would hold on to nothing all that time, but God bless him. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be on this broadcast right now.
Right.
And everyone, including you two gentlemen, would be doing something else with somebody else if it wasn't for that gentleman.
Right.
And you may never have to know his name or ever see him and all those people, but if they had made a different decision, everything we're doing right now changes. So I want people to know, most of all, that your life matters, man, and people are waiting for you.
Yeah.
You don't have to just show up.
Man, thanks for asking that.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that. I mean, you have to celebrate everybody. So I know that sometimes some people say, well, it wasn't a great experience with that person. Well, that experience led you to the next one. So celebrate your past, present, and future.
Yeah.
Learn to pick too.
I love this topic too, James, because I've been talking about this a lot lately, and I'm glad that Jack asked that question, and we're talking about this real quick for a few minutes. Like, that person that came in and out of your life, maybe it didn't work out, and like, not even did it not work out, but sometimes we'll say to ourselves, like, man, that guy missed out, man. Like, we've gone on to be successful, and he missed out on that, or girl, or whoever that person is that kind of came in and out. Like, you know what? It wasn't supposed to work out that way. Don't look at it like that. They were only supposed to be in your life for a short period of time. That's how it was all supposed to happen. They were supposed to either connect you to a relationship or get you to think differently for an hour or for a week or for a month. And then, all these things happen, and maybe that person's no longer here. And I'm talking about everything, not just business, failed marriage. Like, people get really down on themselves about that. It didn't work out. And yeah, it's a tragedy sometimes. But you know what? Maybe that was what's going to lead you to the next marriage, which is an amazing marriage, right? Or I mean, it's just not just in business here. I mean, a lot of these things kind of, duplicate themselves throughout life. And, I think people need to know that. If you're listening today, just know, like, whatever didn't work out, it was for a reason, and you learned something from it. It was part of your history. And man, what I've learned about life, and I'm a little younger than you, and I know, James, you've learned this as well. You can never connect the dots moving forward. But man, when you look backwards, the dots all connect, don't they?
Yeah, and I can't wait for your hair to turn gray, then you can stop saying that I'm older than you, because nobody can tell the difference.
Good point. I got to stop saying that. He's a little older than me, like a few years.
I'm just joking. I can go with that. You know what? I've learned that in life, just try to become better, because when you become better, then better shows up. And I've been married 3 times. But it took me to become the right person to attract the right person into my life, who not only is my wife, but my partner and my friend. And, but it was up to me to become better and not worry about that, because, I just learned to love people for them and accept the fact but I can love some of them across the street. You don't have to have everybody here, because I had to control how I respond to the things that happen. And once I was able to get that in control, then I could find moments where I could find peace and serenity. I could see better, have better clarity. And I began to just chill out and just try to work on me. And, and it's still a work in progress, as always will be. But I'm a lot better, and I'm happy every single day. So I think for me, that's really the secret, to learn how to really love each other, period. That's it.
Love it, James. All right, so let's spend our last several minutes together. We're gonna fast forward through the TLC story a little bit. You join, you drink the tea, you have these results, it gets your attention. You kind of see the opportunity there, and you said it yourself. You didn't see the opportunity to sell things. You saw the opportunity to solve things, which I think a lot of times people don't focus on that, right? It's not always about that business transaction. You saw something that could help people, right? So you joined us. You went on to do some great things. You've reached this high rank in the company, all these sales metrics, all these awards that you've won and stuff like that. And along the way, you did all these great things. You met these great people. You started your nonprofit and all that stuff. Like, I guess in these last 7 years since we've known each other, what are the moments you're most proud of yourself for?
Wow. I'm most proud of my children. I have an 8-year-old son that has 300,000 views on YouTube. Oh, I'm proud of him. And I'm trying to find out how he does it. I'm trying to bribe him with nuggets and fries. It's not working.
Me too. Let me know when you figure that out. I want to know that too,
God.
James, by the way. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, he's coding. For me, it's really about expression of life and stretch. So for me, when I was able to get in the nonprofit world and find my passion, because when I grew up, I thought if you were on somebody's board, you were somebody. How do you get on the board? Who asks the average person to be on the board? And then suddenly I was on everybody's board, and it kind of happened because I just tried to do the right thing, and people started talking to other people, and then I would get phone calls, and the next thing I know, I was in the room and shaking hands and hanging out with Buzz Aldridge to Jack Canfield, to Matthew McConaughey, to Wesley Snipes, everybody, and it went on and on and on. But the whole cause was about giving back, making a difference, and bringing value to relationships. So I would say for me, the most thing I'm most proud of would be my family. And I believe that with the kids, my 2 sons and my daughter, I think I got it right. And, and my marriage and just getting it right. So I'm most proud of those things. Most of the other things, they come and go. We've done a lot of stuff, but I'm most proud of that.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to make up for saying you're old real quick. All right, James? Because someone taught me something a long time ago. So I'm gonna make up for it, and actually you're gonna double make up for it. You're gonna help me out on this one, right? So someone taught me a long time ago, you're only old when you stop talking about what you're going to do, and the only thing you talk about is what you've done before, right? So James Dentley, as he sits here today, I'm not even gonna say what age you are, right? But like I know you're not old because you're constantly telling me about what you're going to do in the future. So share with us, what does the future look like for James Dentley? What are you working on next? What are your aspirations, your goals, your dreams? You're not done. I know you're not done.
Yeah. Well, I've been very, very fortunate to have a lot of people in my life who are philanthropists, but they also, and they're wonderful people. They just happen to be billionaires. And when you're around people, it kind of elevates what's possible. And it's not about the money. It's about expression. To open up the door to say somebody else can do it as well. And for me, launching JD3 TV was the next phase because I'm looking at Instagram, I'm looking at all these great people out there on social media, and it just wasn't. I still type with one finger, I text with one finger. I'm not ever going to be a great Instagrammer, and I'm not, because I don't look good with a shirt, with no shirt and a vest on anymore. So I had to find out where's my line. And as a speaker, number one, I can provide a platform to give them, if they have access to get their information, their gifts out to the world where they can't get one. They can't call Netflix, but they can call me. The same token, it's a great tie-in with Total Life Changes because it's all about creating a funnel that people can come and be introduced to you because people follow people. The opportunity comes second because people will get involved because of the product. They'll get involved, but most of them won't stay because of the emotional ups and downs. People are looking for a sense of belonging somewhere and somewhere that's going to be there. So right now to launch this TV streaming network and some other cool things we have around it. We have a production studio now. We have a part of an outdoor concert company doing concerts all over the country and filming those. And we'll have those things on our network as well. But really to be a talent amplification platform. And then let's find out what the next position Jack's going to put in the comp plan. And when you guys come up with it, we're running hard right now to get to the next position, which is the last one. And then we'll be able to be prime position for that one. So I'm still excited, man. You can't leave you guys because, it's almost, I feel guilty. I wouldn't even be able to live with myself, even considering doing that. It's too much to do, too many people to help. It's a lot of fun. And I'm just thankful for the opportunity just to be here.
Oh, man. That means a lot, man. I would drive to Chicago and force you to stay anyway. I would. I'd jump right in the car and drive right over there. I'm very familiar with I-94 West.
My wife will beat me.
James, it's been an honor. It's been an honor, really. I always learn so much from you. I have a page full of notes here. I'm always grateful to speak with you. But I'm gonna throw it back over to Jack. See if he's got any additional thoughts, questions, or anything like that.
Well, I like how you put that, James. It's about expression. It's not about the money. And when people realize that, their minds open wide open. Their minds open wide up. So we had to go to Dubai And everybody I talked to when we came home, they say, "Oh, how is it? It looks, it's looks, money-esque right over there." And I said, "Yeah, I mean, but it's really they're almost in the future because they don't think with everything's possible over there." So you see that you see that in the architecture, you see that in the street lights. This is the best part. I love the detail over there. If the street light was green, there was a smile with a wink. If it was yellow, there was a smile with a straight face, and if it was red, it was a mean face. I mean, those little details said to me that there's everything is possible. When they wanted to build an island, they just build an island. When they want to build a building that you could stare at for hours, they build a building like that. So you nailed it when you said it's about expression. It's not about the money. And as soon as you realize that, your mind opens up and the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
Which is the key, right? I think that's the key to success is always figuring out a way to keep your mind open to all the possibilities, right? And you hear these terms like be open-minded or, make sure that you are always asking yourself questions, right? They say like the geniuses of the world always talk to themselves, right? Because they're always just constantly asking themselves questions, right? You open up your mind that way, right? Like don't make statements, ask those questions, keep that stuff rolling, right? So
I think that's a key to longevity as well.
I'm telling you.
We did a meeting in Miami a few weeks ago. This older gentleman comes up to us. He owns several practices throughout Florida. Everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, this is the biggest." He owns all these doctor offices and stuff like this. And he comes up to us, and his wheels are turning. James, this guy had to be, I'd say, about 84.
yes. In his 80s for sure.
He was so excited to meet us and the possibilities of doing business with us. And I just, oh my God, this is the key to longevity. He was like a little kid. He's like, I can't wait. I want to try the products. I want to put all the products everywhere in Florida. And I got something going on in Texas. And the guy is like 84. I'm like, God bless.
Side note, he absolutely 100% does not need the money. like for sure.
I got one for you. We got a young lady. Her name is Florence Alexander. She's 82. Her husband, Dr. Florence, and Dr. Stanley is 92. They live in a house that was previously owned by the guy who started to publish Clearinghouse Sweepstakes. She built a $500 million business in her basement, and I'm part of her Orlando Film Festival coming up in May. She's also a rep in TLC. And in the film festival, we'll have tables every single day in the venue and in the hotel with TLC. She loves TLC, and she definitely does not need the money. So TLC is for everyone who just sees it and gets it. And you never can tell. So we can't judge. We just share and let it fall where it falls.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, James, before we let you go today, JD3 TV, for people that were listening today and your story of hope inspired them and they want to learn a little bit more about you or see you in the future, JD3 TV, where can people find this? How can they access it? Where would they go?
We'll be opening up on the 20th of this month. They go to jd3.tv, JD the number 3.tv, and we will be there live, something different, special, and fun.
I'll be there, sir. I will definitely be one of the first ones there. I want to thank you for really your service today. You already know this. You serve so many people today. People are going to hear this today, next week, next year at some point, and it's going to do them a world of good. And I want to extend to you also the, just letting you know that, I'm here to serve if I can, with your nonprofits, with all of your initiatives. If there's something I can do, I'm pretty cheap. I'm probably free if you can get it any cheaper than that. I would probably even come and help you and buy you lunch. So even less than cheap. So please, I want to make sure you know that. And because I love serving and helping people as well. So it's been a pleasure, my friend. It really, really has. And I'm grateful to have you in my life and in our life for sure. So thanks for serving today, Jack.
Yes, sir. Look forward to the future with you, obviously spending time physically as well, instead of the virtual. So I can't wait for you to come visit. And, man, just keep making memories together. So thanks a lot, James. Look forward to the future.
And thank you all so much for your vision and saying yes to your truth and to your imagination, to what you think was possible, because it wasn't always easy, but it's there. And the best is yet to come. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, guys. Mr. James Dentley from Chicago, Illinois. He's an amazing man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed another edition of the Hope Dealers. Please share this with anybody that you know that could be looking for hope or feels hopeless, because that's what this broadcast is all about. Have a great, great week. We'll see you guys next week on another edition of the Hope Dealers.
God bless.